Hi everybody, my name's Chelsea, aka Sunspren. Welcome back to my channel. And today we're actually going to be talking about Sanderson, right? So spoilers for let's see, all of Stormlight Archive plus Dawn Shard. Not so much, I don't think I'll touch Lift's book, Edge Dancer. I read a little of it, but I just didn't care for Lift as a main character. Spoilers for possibly Warbreaker and Mistborn Era 1. I have not read Elantris, and I have not read Mistborn Era 2, although I did read, oh yeah, spoilers, I guess. Yeah, we'll get into that too, for Secret Projects. So if you haven't read the Mistborn Secret stuff, avoid this video. You do not want to be spoiled, I guess. Not by me anyway. You want to read it. You want to read Secret Histories. Okay, anyway. So today, if it's not already totally obvious by the screen share here, we're going to be talking about Hoid. Hoid is one of my favorite characters in the entire Cosmere. He's amazing, brilliant, insightful, witty. He is a wit, after all. Among other things, he's just very complicated, complex, funny, charming, wise, and potentially terribly dangerous character. I'm going to go through some quotes about Hoid from Stormlight. I took the liberty of highlighting a whole bunch of these, and I'm just going to go through them one by one. I think sometimes it's helpful to do that. It's hard to see everything we know about a character summarized without going online. I didn't want to cheat. I wanted to highlight it for myself. So I'm just going to read some of these insights about Hoid, and then we'll discuss. Okay. All right. So this will just go through Stormlight. I'm not sure if it's in chronological order or not. I've come to your land, he said, to chase an old acquaintance, but I end up spending most of my time hiding from him instead. That's clearly odium, right? Race at first. But it is interesting that he's saying, I came to your land to chase him. Now I'm hiding from him. That's odd. Obviously Sigzil was his apprentice, right? The world singer. And I found that interesting when he just tells Kaladin very flippantly, oh, he's a full world singer now. Don't let him get killed. I spent far too long trying to force some sense into that brain of his. I'd pay big money to know what he tried to teach Sigzil. Like, if Hoid was my teacher, I'd literally pay attention to every single word. I'd hang on his every breath. I'm serious. The fact that Sigzil's just like, whatever. And like, I mean, he respects Hoid, but he clearly, more fearful of him than understanding, it seems. It's interesting. Let's see. Let me open this one. He hopped up and gave, okay. Shallan slipped forward and glanced inside his pack, catching sight of a small jar sealed at the top. It was mostly black, but the side pointed toward her was instead white. Wit snapped the pack closed. Come, you look like you could use the opportunity to buy me something to eat. It's got to be his hair dye, right? Black and white. Okay. Pretty straightforward. I began life as a thought, a concept, words on a page. That was another thing I stole. Myself. Another time I was named for a rock. I don't know if it's got to be a reference to something. I have no idea when he was named for a rock or what that means. The fact that he began life as a thought, a concept, words on a page, is that's intriguing. Do we think he's being honest about that? If so, I mean, it does make him more spren-like than person-like, but he's definitely not a spren. Interesting. You may call me Hoid. Your name? No, the name of someone I should have loved. Once again, this is a thing I stole. It is something we thieves do. Okay, the name Hoid was the name of someone he should have loved? Okay. Got that stuff, okay. Blah, blah, sorry. Heavens no, Wit said. I'm not stupid enough to get mixed up in religion again. The last 7 times I tried it were all disasters. I believe there's at least one god still worshipping me by accident. That's hilarious. I totally buy it. I'll bet one of them does. I don't know which one it is, but I bet one of the shards fancies Hoid. I would. Some men, as they age, grow wiser. I am not one of those, for wisdom and I have always been at cross purposes. So, wisdom, is that one of the shards? Or a reference to one of them, perhaps? They're at cross purposes. If he and wisdom are at cross purposes, what does that tell you? Okay, another one. I am the bones of a foreign species left drying on the plain that once was, long ago, a sea. A curiosity, perhaps a reminder, that all has not always been as it is now. Okay. Shallan asking the question we all wanted to ask. You're old, aren't you? Not a herald, but as old as they are? He smiled in a kindly way, and I'm paraphrasing here, I did skip a little bit. Child, when they were but babes, I had already lived dozens of lifetimes. Old is a word you use for worn shoes. I'm something else entirely. And I think that's starting to get closer to the truth, right? The truth of what and who Hoid really is. And this one I think maybe is my favorite. When I was young, yes, Shallan said, I made a vow. Shallan nodded wide-eyed. I said I'd always be there when I was needed. And you have been? Yes. She breathed out. It turns out I should have been more specific, as there is technically anywhere. What? To be honest, there has been, so far, a random location that is of absolutely no use to anyone. So he made a promise, he made a vow. And of course, there's that famous one, and I haven't found it yet. That he basically, Pattern says he feels like one of us. This quote I'm not finding in here that I thought I had highlighted about him turning it down, turning the opportunity down that the others took, implying that when the others killed Adonalsium, he did not accept a shard of Adonalsium's power as the other ones did. That's what I'm getting from this, that he was there for the shattering, and he refused to take power. He is far older than the heralds. He's also a relic, as he said, the way things used to be, and before that cataclysmic like shattering of the deity. He's what kind of could have been with the others. And he says having power is a terrible burden, the worst thing imaginable except for every other alternative. Which I thought was funny. Be wary of anyone who claims to be able to see the future, Shallan. And then he repeats himself when she says, but you say you see the future. Be wary of anyone who claims to be able to see the future. Right? And he's already said he would let the world burn. He'd let Roshar go down, no problem, if it got him what he needed. And that is another terrifying thing. What do we think Wit actually is trying to accomplish? Hoid, what is he trying to do? I gather he's trying to... Well, okay, before I get there, there's a scene in Way of Kings, I think, where he talks to... It might be Words of Radiance. Anyway, he's talking to Dalinar, and he looks Dalinar straight in the eyeball, and he says, Adonalsium. Very uncharacteristically showing all the cards, right? Like Hoid's normally pretty coy about where he's from and what he is and his place in the Cosmere and all this, and he literally just goes, Adonalsium. What do you think? Ring a bell? Know anything about that? And I'm just like, that's very, very open. Did he see something in Dalinar? Did he see some kind of potential? Did he think, ooh, I see this potential in you, perhaps it's connected to honor, or maybe you do know something? That perplexed me. I mean, Dalinar of all people? Dalinar's not going to know what Adonalsium is, but I guess Wit doesn't know that, or Hoid. He's just probing. But I found that so very direct. I guess if I had to guess what Hoid's doing, he's planning to unite the shards of Adonalsium somehow. Somehow, some way, someday. But he's got to get Odium out of the way first, or deal with Odium in some way that either eliminates him as a threat or makes him what he once was, which was passion. Not just hatred, but actual passion. Still trying to figure that out. I mean, he seems to really hate race. Or at least race gets on his nerves. Is that what we think? We think Wit's trying to reunite the shards? I mean, he mentions a dragon, right? That we suppose is cultivation. Communicates with Harmony at one point. Sazed. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna throw something else there about Hoid that interests me. The flute, right? He refers to the flute as a she. The first time that Kaladin approaches his campfire, and he says, you know, I haven't paid enough attention to her in quite some time. Paraphrasing. He refers to her as she several times until he gives the flute to Kaladin, at which point Kaladin calls it an it, and Hoid also calls it an it. I thought that was an interesting little... It may mean nothing, but you never know, right? You definitely never know with Stormlight. That he gives this flute to Kaladin is particularly special, right? And the flute disappears for a while, and it pops back up in Rhythm of War. And, you know, Kaladin even says the common sense thing. Don't worry, I'll give it to Sigzil, your former apprentice. I'll give him the flute and pass it on to him. And it's like, no, you won't. You need to learn how to play it. And I expect you to know how to play it the next time we meet. Which he doesn't, because the next time they meet, I think is, let's see, what, Darethil and the Wandersail? Anyway, he's lost it already by then. Anyway, what is the flute about? Like, that's a very deliberate plant, right? Let's give Kaladin something that has nothing to do with his character right now, and then later on it's going to make perfect sense to everybody. It'll be the perfect thing. If I had to guess, Kaladin, perhaps in the back half of this series, I'm going to say he's not dead, just so we can make the flute make sense. I would love for Kaladin to be able to heal people. Maybe a different kind of healing, right? The one he started in Rhythm of War when he got all those people out of that, away from the Ardents, away from the Ardentia and their cells or prison cells, and got those guys with PTSD, essentially, battle shock, to communicate with one another, to talk, to be in open air and, you know, fresh air and sunshine, and give them some hope and some talk therapy. How interesting would it be if the flute became a part of that? If Kaladin could soothe them, maybe with a song before they all start talking about stuff. It doesn't have to necessarily be the way Wit uses the flute, right? Wit, who tells a story to bring people to realize something about themselves. But it could be very similar, right? If Kaladin, I just don't see Kaladin turning into like Wit, the storyteller, but I could see him coaxing other people, perhaps, to tell their stories, right? Hey, I'm just going to sit over here and play my flute. I want you to tell me your life story. Just tell me what you're feeling, what's going on. And playing the flute and letting them talk, right? And feeling that, getting a sense of how they feel based on how he responds with the flute and all this. It would be really, I think that would be great. It would be so poignant, for Kaladin to be able to heal people and do it using this gift from Hoid. Hoid, who perhaps saw immediately something other than a warrior in Kaladin. The fact that he says, you know, wise young bridgeman, you know, he immediately recognizes honor in Kaladin. And I think that's a compliment. And to give him something precious like that flute, not Shallan the liar, right? The person who could make it a performance and make this a, I don't know, add this to her list of delusions and falsifications and illusions. And I like Shallan. I'm just saying, you know, that's her shtick. To give this to Kaladin, the most straightforward person, in a way the least artistic, right? Although he's an artist with a spear. It's a cool choice. One of Hoid's finer moments, and I really do expect it to pay off. I hope that's how it pays off, but I don't know. Maybe something else mysterious and magical will happen with the flute. For all I know, that's how they bind odium, right? Oh, look at that. There's a magical flute here. Gee, maybe the tones of Roshar and the whole music theme we've got going, and the fact that, wasn't it oh, what's his name? Amaram, who had like a room full of flutes. Like he bought every flute he found looking for a specific flute. Maybe it's simpler than Maybe it has nothing to do with Kaladin. Maybe it's something world altering. Like this is the flute from which the pure tones of Roshar are derived or mimicked or what have you. I don't know. But giving it to Kaladin is very interesting. All right. Let me see what else I've got here in my quotes list. I have to check the phone. Let's see. Oh, power is a knife, a terrible, dangerous knife that can't be wielded without cutting yourself. We joked about stupidity, but in reality, most people aren't stupid. Many are simply frustrated at how little control they have over their own lives. They lash out, sometimes in spectacular ways. You want to change the world, Shallan. That's well and good, but be careful. The world predates you. She has seniority. I love that. I kind of think that is a reference to cultivation. I want to learn to be like you, Shallan said, feeling silly as she said it. No, you don't. Found that interesting. Now, that bit I quoted earlier about, I said I'd always be there when I was needed. And he is, right? He's always exactly where he needs to be. For Kaladin, for Shallan, for everyone. Do we think that's something that happened when Adonalsium was shattered? Like that day, that moment, even, that perhaps in the immediate aftermath there was something of Adonalsium left, and he swore to him. Wit swore to him that he would. Hoid, sorry, swore to him that he would always be there when needed. Perhaps Adonalsium was worried about people. He said, I don't know about this. I can't be everywhere all at once. I can't be everywhere I'm needed. And Hoid said, you know, well, I can be there. I can promise to always be there when I'm needed. It's simplistic, but it makes me wonder, because he truly is exactly where he's supposed to be, right? All the time. No question of that. Yeah. I'm still looking to see if there's anything else here. Yeah, okay, here's that bit about Dalinar. Okay, yeah, Adonalsium. Dalinar frowned deeply. What? Wit searched his face. Have you ever heard the term, Dalinar? Ado, what? Nothing, Wit said. He seemed preoccupied, unlike his usual self. Nonsense, balderdash. Figgledy-grack. Isn't it odd that gibberish words are often the sounds of other words? Cut up, dismembered, then stitched onto something like them, yet wholly unlike them at the same time? Dalinar frowned. I wonder if you could do that to a man. Pull him apart, emotion by emotion, bit by bit, bloody chunk by bloody chunk, then combine them back together into something else, like a Dizzy-Amian. If you do put a man together like that, Dalinar, be sure to name him Gibberish after me. Or perhaps Gibletish. Is that your name then? Your real name? I wonder if you could do that to a man. Pull him apart, emotion by emotion, bit by bit, bloody chunk by bloody chunk, then combine them back together into something else. If you do put a man together like that, Dalinar, be sure to name him Gibberish after me. That's so specific. And Hoid keeps saying, don't ever trust people who say they can see the future. So is Dalinar gonna try to reforge Adonalsium? Dalinar's gonna lose the duel, right? To Odium, to Taravangium, Todium in the next book. I would think. At least that seems to be the predominant prediction of the fandom, is that Dalinar will lose. I don't know. There's so many facets to Wit. I think he senses Kelsier is extremely dangerous. I think him punching Kelsier, and Kelsier being the only person he's ever, well, not person, entity, he's ever been able to harm, and totally did it without even like blinking, like, oh, thank good, oh, bam, just perfect. Punched him in the face. Seemed to set up, ooh, sorry, sneaky yawn attack. That seemed to set up almost a rivalry between Kelsier and Hoid. Rivalry is probably not the right word. Hoid could just run circles around Kelsier. I guess he senses something about him. Anyway, I'm not sure where I was going with that thought. Wit and Yasna are also a big question mark, right? In Rhythm of War, they are together, apparently physical with one another, which blew a lot of people's minds. That Yasna would like stoop to that. When she's clearly not that into the physical aspect of things. But she likes to keep her enemies close, I guess. Or her interdimensional entities close. I'm very curious to see how that turns out. Wit seems to actually have some affection for her. I hope he's not going to do anything stupid, like for Yasna. Surely not, right? He's above all that. He's going to outlive every single one of these people. Oh, I guess we better talk about the obvious. Do we think Wit has Hoid rather lost his memory? Do we think Taravangian got away with it at the end of Rhythm of War? I'm not sure. I like to think that Wit is clever enough to know that he's been messed with and to sense that something has gone awry. But he has to act natural or he's going to blow it. Almost as though he's learned a little secret that he knows and not everybody else knows. I hope that's the case. I didn't read it that way on my first read. I was like, oh my God, Taravangian totally blew Hoid out of the water here. He absolutely cornered him, took his memories, knew exactly what he was doing. But upon further reading, I'm not sure. I think he would know. I think Hoid would know that the tone was off, right? It's not quite right. Interesting. Hoid's no fool. But I don't know. I don't know who wins in a like that was a good ambush, right? Todium could probably only ever get that over on Wit the one time before he finds out who he is really now. I think that's all I've got. I think Wit is trying to perhaps reforge Adonalsium somehow, some way. by influencing all of these other events, perhaps getting all of these all of the shards sort of, I don't want to say set up, but I don't know. Anyway, that's it. That's all I've got for tonight. It's getting approaching 9 o'clock. I'm getting a little bleary. If you think of anything else, please comment. Obviously, I'm sort of meandering around at this point, so I'll end it before I go any crazier. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Please like and subscribe, and yeah, talk to you later. Bye.